So it's about engagement with the community and talking to people and continuing to practice our listening skills, I think. Understanding what works for people and what doesn't. And that goes back to that thing about post-occupancy evaluation too. I think if you do absolutely nothing after this course, other than go back to the office and squirm around answering your emails, that just make that effort to go and look at a few things that you've been involved in over the last sort of few years would be a really useful technique. And perhaps talking to some of the people that use that building or place. How does it work for them? How does it work for the guy who does the cleaning? You know, how does it work for the person who is bringing in large packages and so on? We had a very nice building built in the campus for New Architectural Studio. And it had these sort of ledges that were quite kind of strange, really. And I used to watch the dead flies there slowly disintegrating because there was no way it could be cleaned. Communication, talking to people, when it comes to almost any group of people, but particularly for disabled people because of their particular needs, remember the mantra, nothing about us without us. And I think that's a good one to bear in mind. So, inclusive design, it's not just about rules and regulations, it's actually a philosophy. And it's an appropriate response to the diversity of the human condition. It is about wheelchairs, of course it's about wheelchairs, but not to the exclusion of all the other impairments, hearing loss, dementia, learning difficulties. All the different types of consideration have to be thought about. Parents with kids, the kids themselves. You can't compartmentalise people, you can't find one solution. It won't work. You have to compromise, you have to find some kind of way of making it possible to provide choice. Recall the mantra, nothing about us without us. Mind the gap. Consider how design is going to be used over time. Detail can be important. The detail, the little tiny obstruction that you might not notice yourself can be something that prevents someone going out of the house. I remember on one occasion talking to a woman who didn't go out. I did some research some years ago actually, in which I identified a lot of people who never left the house at all. And I then went and interviewed them and asked them why they didn't go out. And there was one woman who didn't go out because she couldn't get over the curb at the end of her bit of development. And I thought, how sad, you know. Actually, I was so kind of hopping mad that I did manage to get someone to adjust it, and so she could actually go out, even if it was just to go out for a very short distance, you know, to be out in the fresh air. Because sometimes you feel, you know, even today, you know, you think, God, I'd like to get outside. You know, we've been in this room for quite a long time now. You want to get out, don't you? And why wouldn't somebody suffer from depression and feel really miserable if they were in that situation? So those little points of detail can be absolutely crucial. And finally, inclusive design should be beautiful. It's not institutional stuff. It's not adapting things just to add on something that meets the building regulations at the end. It's about thinking about it intrinsically from the beginning of the design process right through to the end, and over time, the fourth dimension. If by any chance you haven't got the message by now, I'm sure you have, just remember that we do need to design for our future selves, because we're all going to get old one day. And that point about beauty, this is actually the Reichstag in Berlin. And, you know, rather elegant, but accessible too. And that's really what we want, isn't it? Something that everyone can use, but maintains that elegance and beauty and uplifting quality that you really want to make people feel good.